is Nicholas Glover with the Tampa Bay Chamber. I want to thank and welcome the viewers tuning into our 2023 candidate interview series for the City of Tampa City Council elections. The Chamber focuses on policy, not politics. And while we do not endorse, we do want to make sure that our members and the business community are informed on where these candidates stand on the issues most important to the business community. We're excited today to have Blake Casper running for City Council District 4 with us. Thanks for joining us, Blake.
Thank you, Andy, for having me.
So we're just under 60 days from Election Day. In fact, actually under 40 days. And now that we are in this final stretch, can you give us a brief update on your campaign and what message you hope to deliver to voters?
Sure. Well, thank you, Andy, and thank you for having me on your channel here. My name is Blake Casper. I'm a restaurateur, businessman that has relatively recently decided to get into the election. I've never run for public office before, so this is a first for me. But I've grown up, lived in Tampa all my life, and I feel passionately about the trajectory that the city is on. I'm excited about where we've come from, where we're headed, and I think, given my experience and success in different endeavors, I think I can contribute and saw District 4 as a place to do it, and so I'm running for City Council.
So let's talk a little bit about the role of City Council. What is the role of council as you see it, and do you see that role potentially evolving over the course of your term?
Yeah, well, I see City Council effectively as a board of directors, right? In talking about a business, we have a mayor, CEO, and we have a board of directors who is, overseeing the executive branch. And that really is, we're a legislative branch, we're a board of directors. That's our role, that's our lane. I think it can be a very powerful lane, and we can affect and support the executive branch, but I believe that is the lane of City Council.
One of the areas that the Chamber has leaned very heavily into is the idea of workforce housing, which is that missing middle, that 80 to 120% of area median income. And the question I have for you, Blake, is what zoning or policy changes would you support to address the growing workforce housing needs of our city?
I think the best thing we can do is first, we can provide developers and builders a clear path and clear blueprint of how to build and develop within our city. I think the more consistent we are, the more straightforward that process is, incentivizing your workforce development. I think that bodes for the most amount of supply to come online to help in that need.
We talked about the role of council, and obviously approving the city budget is one of council's biggest responsibilities. Some experts at the state level and nationally are anticipating potentially a slowdown economically, or smoothing at least. During that process, if we do experience a slowdown, how should the city prioritize its spending?
Well, I'm running on a law and order campaign. One of my top priorities is the support of our men and women in uniform. And so I first of all, the priority needs to be that. And in cities across the country, whether it's San Francisco, Chicago, Baltimore, there is a fundamental breakdown of law and order in those cities. And so we need to prioritize, in good times or bad, supporting our men and women that provide safety.
Let's switch gears for a moment and talk about the idea of home rule. Local governments across the state have been critical with the legislature in recent years. Blake, do you agree that preemption has become a problem in Tallahassee? And if so, how would you work to establish a more productive relationship with our legislative delegation?
Well, I do believe in the best decision-making is at the local level. So I'm a proponent for that, for the rules to be made as close to the people as possible. I do know that we've had some challenges with Tallahassee. I'm very involved in Tallahassee and have been for years. So I actually think I can provide a conduit and a connection to help with some of these problems.
Another area that is no surprise to people, economic development is also very important to this chamber. And Blake, utilization of public-private partnerships continues to be an asset for local governments across the country. What opportunities for P3s do you see for the city of Tampa?
Well, there's a number, whether it's education, healthcare, transportation. I mean, we've got great institutions with our schools, with our hospitals. Transportation is a little bit difficult, but Brightline is a great example of a private sector solving a need and something that I think is very exciting to have happen when we start talking about high-speed rail and connectivity with cities across the state. So there's a lot of P3 opportunities, but we need both from the private and public sector. You've got to have leaders that really understand how to solve problems and how to get things done. And I believe I can provide that.
Thank you. Uncertainty persists with the already collected All for Transportation referendum dollars. As you may know, the fate of those dollars now rests in the hands of the Florida legislature. Assuming that Hillsborough is able to secure those funds this legislative session, what are the most important transportation investments that you'd like to see?
Well, I think the bulk of the money, still needs to go back to improving our roads, improving, where the areas that are of congestion, especially in District 4, which is what I'm running for. But I also believe that there are opportunities for mass transit and smart mass transit. I think there are a lot of improvements that have been made over the course of the last 10 to 15 years. And then you have autonomous driving that's coming our way. So how do we enable that? How do we enable the new technologies in the future? But I'll say, going back to law and order, going back to safety, you've got the largest mass transits in the country, New York, Chicago, these cities where mass transit is not even being used because people don't feel safe. So I just another plug for, safety is got to be first.
Well, we've touched on some very important policy positions today, but before we wrap up, Blake, are there any priorities that are important to you in the campaign that we have not discussed, or something you'd like to circle back to reemphasize?
No, I'm a businessman. I come with a business outlook. I come with solutions first and trying to solve problems. I firmly believe that the voters of District 4 want to see their city council work. They want to see problems solved, and I believe I can bring that leadership.
And then lastly, where can voters go to learn more about you and your campaign and the positions that are the most important to them?
Sure. www.casperforcouncil.com, and you can find out more about me and my platform.
Excellent. Blake Casper, running for City Council District 4. On behalf of the Tampa Bay Chamber's members, our board of directors, we want to thank you, sir, for joining us today and for your willingness to serve in an elected office. That concludes our interview. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.